Academica Media. You are listening to Charter School Superstars, bringing you the voices of an education revolution.
Welcome back, everybody. We are live from our 7-hour live stream at the Florida Charter School Conference here in Orlando, Florida, celebrating 25 years of charter education in the state. We will be streaming here until 4 p.m. Eastern, at which point we will surely be quite tired, and hopefully the internet holds up. But thank you all for holding up and hanging with us this whole time. Man, we've had a lot of fun, and I know this conversation is going to be particularly fun. Our guest right now here on the live stream is the principal at the Jefferson County K-12 Somerset School in Monticello, Florida. One of my favorite school administrators, a truly inspiring figure that we're happy to have here. Cory Oliver is joining us. Hi, Cory.
Hey, man. What's up, Ryan?
I'm so excited to have you here. I'm doing great. I want to start off by, for the people who don't know what's going on there at in Jefferson County, this is the first all-charter school district in the state of Florida. It started 5 years ago.
Yeah, this is the end of our 5th year. We've been at this for a while now. It was a huge eye-opening experience for us. You know, essentially, we not only became responsible for the teaching and learning happening in the district, but also we became the district. So all of the state reporting, all of the requirements that any district would have to go through, we also took that on. So it was quite intriguing to be both the principal and functioning as all the district personnel at the same time.
I can imagine. And even
hey, shout out to Chancellor Ulysse. He just walked by.
There you go.
Good to see the Chancellor today.
And for a corporation like Somerset, which is, I believe, the longest running, continuously running charter school nonprofit in the state of Florida, with hundreds of charter schools throughout the United States, mostly in Florida. I mean, if there was any school nonprofit that was up to this challenge of taking over an entire district, it's Somerset. But it's still an incredible challenge. And, just to take over a district, to take over the administration, to take over a district that's been struggling and help it turn around. What to you has been the most eye-opening experience? Because you're the one who used that term.
Oh, I could sit here for the rest of the 7 hours and tell you eye-opening experiences that I've had. But
well, good. We have a lot of time to fill. So
I do want to comment on the Somerset aspect of this, because Somerset is such an amazing organization, and we couldn't have done what we've done without all the support. You know, principals from all across the network helped me do this. They helped my team be successful. So I can't say enough about the organization. And I'm not sure that any other organization could have done what we did with 30-day turnaround. I mean, we had 30 days to get ready for the first day of school when we found out that we were taking over. So it was something special. And, you know, we're working on a little bit of a documentary on what the school was like before we got there, and then what it's been changed to since. And the facilities, just looking at the facilities, it doesn't even look like the same place, you know. So it wasn't just coming in and doing the teaching and learning aspect. We had to do everything. We rekeyed the entire school, for example. I had no idea that rekeying a school was going to cost $27,000 plus. You know,
it's eye-opening for me.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have guessed.
That was not in the budget to consider. But we got to a point where there were so many keys all over town that we had to get some sort of security back in there.
I can imagine.
Yeah, we worked very hard on making it a safe campus, because prior to our arrival, there were quite a few problems happening. Things that happened in the community that were spilling back into the school. And that may be common amongst the children, but it was sort of happening with adults as well. So we had to do a lot. Initially, we leaned quite a bit on the local churches.
Yeah.
They were able to be sort of springboards for us to get out there and speak to the community and kind of get an understanding of where they were and where they wanted to be. And so we've really worked hard on trying to make all those things happen.
Because I would imagine to execute a turnaround in a district where essentially Somerset's an outsider, you know, this is a South Florida-based organization that's going up into Monticello to turn around that district. I imagine you got to really integrate yourself into that community. You have to become part of that community. You have to reach out to community stakeholders and make them partners in this success.
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, I have had a couple of former superintendents in the area work for me in different roles while I've been up there. And they have both said to me, you are an outsider. Like, make no mistake about it. I've been here for 15 years and they still don't consider me one of them.
Wow.
So, and I get that. I grew up in a similar area, small town, rural, agricultural. They have the way they do things and the way they've always done things. And for us to come in, they used to just call everyone Miami. Well, those Miami folks, they still do, but we have a whole different level of relationships and respect that we've reached together. So it has been nice, to get to that.
Can you talk a little bit about how you in particular got tapped to run this project, to execute this turnaround and be the principal of this school so far from where your neck of the woods where you grew up?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Illinois, but I had done 9 years of, education in South Florida. So basically all my K-12 education experience came from South Florida. And then for me, it wasn't really a tough transition to go back to that environment just because I had grown up in a similar area. But at the same time, it was a bit eye-opening. I was originally on my way to Nashville. I like being behind the microphone myself, so I had wanted to go up and start a music school up there.
You seem really comfortable, so.
Yeah. I've done this once or twice. But that's my goal. It's still my goal. Maybe not in Nashville to start with, but ultimately I would like to launch a set of Somersets that are music-based, And so I was thinking yesterday, we had these great students that were presenting from Indian River Charter, I believe it was, and they did an exceptional job. And I just got to thinking to myself, I'm like, when someone asks me why a music school, I would say you don't have dance without music, right? Like, you don't have new movies and production without music. You don't even have art without music. Animation is such a big part of our society now, and music is the thing that holds it all together,
Yeah.
So that was ultimately my goal and my dream. I was going to go to Nashville and start a music production school, and I actually broke into RCA Studios B, went up there to visit. The security guard wasn't at the desk, so I just kind of walked through the offices and ended up running into the director, and he says, "Oh, what are you doing in here? You're not supposed to be back here." And I said, "Well, I'm trying to do this music school. And, I was trying to kind of figure out what's going on in the Nashville scene as far as that goes and what maybe we could do here to bring something special." And he actually gave me a full tour, took me to where they recorded all of Patsy Cline's stuff. Like, it was really an amazing experience. So through that process of me getting ready to move to Nashville, I guess I just pulled over off of I-10 on my way, and I found Jefferson County, and I've been there for 5 years. So, and I've always been a huge supporter of the Somerset family, and when our board chair at the time, which was Lourdes Isla, when she came in and she was like, "Man, who are we going to have do this?" I had gone up on the original deployment team, right? And we were interviewing, we were talking to the staff, we were trying to decide how this was going to roll out. And on my way back, I told the president of Somerset, Mr. Bernie Montero, I said, I am going to Nashville, but my wife and I, because she's an educator as well, I said, we'll stick around for a year and help this thing get started.
A year?
Yeah, it was just a year. We were just supposed to be there a year. And sure enough, 3 days later, I think it was, "We want to offer you this, but we think that you need to be the principal." And but they said that's going to require a 3-year commitment. And I wasn't real sure I wanted to do that. And after 15 more emails and phone calls and text messages within the hour, I agreed to it just because they badgered me to death. And then about 3 weeks later, I was talked into doing all 5 years. So it is what it is.
That's how it works with our group, by the way. If you give them an inch, I'll give you a year. Next thing you know, you're there for 5 years turning a school district around.
Yeah, thank you, Doug Rodriguez and Bernie Montero for that one.
I want to talk about your love of music here, because you found a way to spread that love of music throughout the Jefferson campus and really tap into the love of music of your students. One of the coolest co-curricular and curricular programs that you have at Jefferson that I am so jealous of is you actually built a recording studio on campus, right? Can you tell a little bit about this?
Yeah, it's really cool. We use the Raven TI series boards, and what they basically are these giant touchscreens, like just like an iPad, right? So the idea behind that was that you would have even K-5 students be able to go into the recording studio and be familiar with how to use the buttons and knobs, because it's just an iPad, right? So we've been in there. I usually have 4th and 5th graders that are just starting to get into drumming and things. I have a performance side and a production side, and they really love to get in there and play drums. They don't really care about anything else. But while they're playing drums, I usually have a few hangers around that will come in, and they'll see what I'm doing on the other side, and they'll want to figure all that out. So it's really cool to watch them just sort of engage in that technology. And we have a huge K-12 STEAM program. I mean, we start in kindergarten all the way through 5th grade, and we have a STEAM lab as well, and they love it. Robotics, animation, circuitry, all the cool things you would see in a STEAM lab, right? And then the studio just can become an extension of that, and it's really wonderful. COVID has set us back. We haven't been able to do much because the whole 2020 year, we couldn't even share instruments because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
So the band wasn't playing. We didn't have much to record, but we've done other things. We done some podcasts and put them out there and try to interview inspiring people on campus. And we've also done the seniors. They wanted to have their graduation song, and they brought me a song that I didn't feel was appropriate for a graduation song. And I knew I had a lot of talent in that class, and I said, all right, you're going to be here every day after work. They were all working at that point, getting ready for graduation. I said, we're going to be here until 11 o'clock, and we actually wrote and performed and edited and mixed and did our whole senior song. They did it themselves, and it was super cool to see them do it. They had no idea that they could do those things, and they had no idea that I knew how to do those things. So it was fun.
Man, I mean, I hear what you're saying about how the pandemic sort of changed your operations with that recording studio program. We certainly know something about that here at Academica Media. This live stream that we're doing right now is the first in-person interview that we've hosted up with our podcast network in 2 years. We had to move everything onto Zoom and using this platform StreamYard that we're using right now to get our material out there. And honestly, it's been tough, but the investments in technology that we've made and the things we've learned along the way are going to be things that we carry with us going forward. Like, we're going to keep using StreamYard because it's a great way to do these kind of live streaming projects. And there's a lot of, when we used to use these like big hulking recording interfaces to record our podcasts. Now we can use a bunch of cloud-based web platforms that get the job done just as well in a pinch. And we would have never even considered some of these solutions if the pandemic didn't force our hand, but now we have them and we're grateful to have them.
Yeah, the pandemic has certainly changed how we do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. But first of all, I'm honored that I get to be the first one. I'll get to brag about that all the rest of the conference.
All right.
But sitting down and talking to you is always amazing. A lot of people don't know, maybe you don't brag on yourself because you're such a humble guy, but you know an awful lot about the music industry yourself. And so when I get to sit down and talk to you, I always feel like it's a great conversation. Maybe I'm biased.
I've enjoyed the heck out of this as well. And I've always appreciated that connection that you and I have, both having this love for the music and love for the music industry. And I've always seen you as a mentor for me in terms of the equipment that we should be getting and things like that, because you're a lot more knowledgeable about that stuff than we are.
Oh, I'm a gearhead. I would never do your sound engineer over there, he's been to my house and seen my problem.
You must be so disappointed with our cable management right now. It must be stressing you out. Our cables are all over the place.
Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, no, like I agree with you. The cloud-based platforms are great for this type of thing, but I'd still have to lug everything in here because I just love all the lights and buttons, you know.
Oh, it's just something about the faders, right? You got to be able to push those faders up and down. Like you can do that on an iPad, but it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not.
Now, the other cool co-curricular that you all have at Jefferson, because which is really after my own heart, because my two passions in this world are music and eating food, is you guys have a culinary arts program that's pretty top notch as well. Can you talk about how you brought that into the world?
Well, that was a whirlwind of activity.
Okay.
And earlier I had said that, in the first 30 days we had all these things to do. Well, we had done a needs assessment, and we're kind of asking the families what programs they liked, what programs they wanted. And culinary was the top of the list. Like it by far.
This is something that the parents wanted for their kids? Okay.
Yeah. And the kids, by far, it was the biggest thing. And they had a little lab in there, but what it really was a couple of Home Depot washer and dryer machines and a microwave and a stove, and that was pretty much it.
It's kind of like a home ec class,
yeah,
but
pretty
very
much.
Small.
So in that first 30 days, we completely ripped out both rooms. We destroyed it, took them down to nothing, dug the concrete up, and we put in about a $500,000 state-of-the-art kitchen. And it's not just the kitchen cooking side. There's also a pastry chef side. So we can offer both aspects of the culinary world there. And we just recently hired a gentleman. His name's Chef Martin. He came to us. He's Johnson and Wales certified, which is like the top culinary school in the country. And he's been doing this for a long time, running restaurants. And every single week now the kids get to cook and eat. And so they're super excited about it. He's kind of a no-nonsense kind of fellow, but you have to be when you got...
Well, that's what we want in our kitchen.
Yeah, in our kitchens. The food safety has to be on point. Everything has to be cleaned a specific way. The kids are learning about all that. They're getting Safe Serve certified.
So there are certification programs attached to this culinary arts program.
There definitely are. And we're trying to... I think we started off with staff serve, and out of the 130 kids or whatever that we had the first year, I think 125 of them actually got that certification.
That's fantastic.
And then we're trying to move them now to the Serve Safe, and we do that each year. Kids love to cook, but they don't necessarily love to take tests. So we're working on that part of it.
Gosh, that's so exciting. I mean, if my high school had either a recording studio or a kitchen to learn how to cook and get certifications, I would have loved that. And your school has both. Let me ask you this now, just to take an even broader view of the charter school movement, since you've been involved in charter schools in Florida for so long. Can you reflect a bit on just what the last over 25 years of charter education means in the state of Florida, what charter schools and school choices meant to the parents and families of this state?
Florida is, and we heard Governor Bush yesterday talking about this, and Commissioner Corcoran a little bit. But Florida's really been on the cutting edge of charter schools and school choice, and it's, for me, it's inspiring. I get really frustrated here lately because our whole field, my life's work is being just destroyed in the media over things like critical race theory and parent choice and school boards and the Department of Justice. And it's like, you wonder why so many teachers are leaving the field when we just get stepped on all the time. And I think it's great that the charter school movement exists because, again, as Governor Bush was saying yesterday, it is not, when a parent can vote with their feet, you have to do better. You have to give all that you can every single day, and you have to try to make a bigger impact. It's funny, I ended up in the charter world because I had lived in Southern Illinois. I was in a band doing that kind of stuff, and my wife comes home one day and she goes, "You're going to have to get a real job at some point." And I said, "Okay, what are we doing?" And she's like, "Well, you can teach in Florida. You don't have to go back to school to get the program. There's other ways to get certified." And I said, "All right." So I sold everything, including my boat, and moved down here. And it was scary. We got down here and had like $12 left in our name, and didn't get paid in the district. You only get paid once a month, right? So we didn't get paid for 30 days. We were bumming rides to work, and it was something else. But I worked a full year, and I did an exceptional job. I had a great principal in the Broward school areas. I really liked what I did, and then he hired me back, and I was really excited because had taken over for someone that was on sabbatical, and she was ready to retire. And then I get called in the office the following Monday, and he says, unfortunately, I have to rift you. I have to let you go because the district is saying she has to come back and complete her 28 days.
Oh.
Yeah, and she has to be in the same position if she wants to get her full retirement. And so we were looking around, and Somerset Academy popped up, and I went in, and it was President Montero was the principal of Chapel Trail. And I kind of never looked back. And it's funny, I remember that story because I went to the teachers union for a little bit of help, and they're like, no, we don't want anything to do with you. You didn't pay your dues or whatever.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to right before the pandemic, I was invited to speak at the State Board of Education. And I was talking to all of these union reps from Broward County, actually. And we were talking, and they were like, oh, what you're doing is really cool. It's wonderful. But they had no idea I was a charter person. So then I get up there, and they announced me as the charter principal that took over a district, and then they booed me.
Oh, I don't know that guy.
So we were getting along famously.
Oh,
and then
gosh.
I got booed, so I don't know. But that's how I ended up in charter schools, and what they stand for, not just in Florida, but nationwide. I think it's incredible. We've been battling these false storylines about how we're taking district monies away and we're not effective, and none of that's true. And we've proven over time that not only is it completely untrue, but we're really killing it in those areas. We're doing great things for kids and families, and that's what needs to continue to happen.
And you spoke about this idea of parents voting with their feet. And I think one of the most impressive statistics that sort of demonstrates what Florida charters have been able to accomplish, particularly when times have gotten tough in education, is the fact that during the pandemic, when schools have been stress tested more than ever, it's been more challenging than ever to maintain high student learning outcomes for our kids. Whereas most school enrollments have fallen, charter school enrollment during the pandemic has actually gone up 3%. That's parents voting with their feet and knowing that when things are tough in education, they know that they can get a great education for their kids in many Florida charters.
Yeah, and I think many of our schools were ready to go. We were already innovating some things, and prior to that, and just having the ability to as Fern says, pivot, right? to pivot and do this and be successful. And listen, we're not perfect. There were growing pains across the board for everybody, public and charter alike. And but when you have just a cast of principals and teachers that care so much about what they do, you're going to be successful regardless of the challenges and the obstacles in front of you.
No question. And I've been so inspired by the work of principals like you, teachers, and just students in our charter schools that have rose above so many obstacles, have pivoted, as you and Fernando Zulueta had said, to continue learning and to continue being successful during the pandemic. Let me ask you this final philosophical question. It's the same question that we ask every guest that comes on Charter School Superstars. It's the final question that we do on our normal podcast, but I feel like your answer to it is going to be particularly enlightening, okay? Let's say with the snap of your fingers, you could make any change to the education system. What change would you make?
Value. I mean, listen, a lot of problems that we have in our society are all based on our value system. And you have to, the most important person in your child's life, other than you, is the person in front of them all day long. You have to value them. And I think that value system, it goes across the board. I think a lot of reason that American workers just in general feel unhappy is that they feel unvalued. That, this is what you make and this is it. And we've sort of already started drifting away from this idea of meritocracy in our country in many fields. And we look down on teachers, which blows my mind. It's the hardest job out there. I've done them all. Trust me. I have worked on hog farms. I have worked in factories. I have done it all. I'm an ex-military, you know, and the hardest thing that you'll ever do is be a teacher. And we have got to value. We have to value it more. It has to be at the forefront of society, and that's not new philosophy or new rhetoric in any way, shape, or form. You know, who was it that said how you value your student or your schools is what your education
Right.
or what your society is going to look like? I don't know the direct quote. I got too much going on in my brain, but
I know we're all being distracted by all this
Look that
food. Like they're laying out lunch right now. It's hard to focus. It all looks so delicious. I can't believe you just came up with that incredible answer on the fly. You didn't know I was going to ask you that question. You had a terrific answer to it. You wove in some of your past experience, your unlikely yet amazing journey into education and school leadership, which I think inspires everybody that's watching this video. One of the ways I can tell that so many people are inspired by you is while we've been doing this interview, just so many people have walked by and have seen you and are just waving. They're just happy to be around you. And certainly we're happy to be around you here as well. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us during our live stream. And please don't be a stranger. I know you love this stuff, and we want to have you around this stuff as much as you want.
I love it. I love being here. You're the best friend of the day right now.
Oh, thank you, Cory.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
The views expressed on the preceding program have been those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Academica, its clients, staff, affiliates, or advertisers.